Whether to use an image or an SVG tends to make for an interesting conversation in the React Native world. Should we use an image? Should we use an SVG? Should we put them in native or should we bundle them? It always seems to be a confusion, but that is not the case. There are some best practices and we'll look at them in this lesson. First, we'll see how images and SVGs are used in a React Native app, and then from that we can draw conclusions. So images tend to be raster, and we can create some really beautiful sceneries and pictures put in the app, though they tend to be of higher size. And if we compare them with SVGs, the difference is actually exponential. But they're omnipresent, as in almost anyone can create an image and we can get a lot of it. SVGs tend to be vector, so they scale well with the different device resolutions. They don't have that issue like for an image. On a native app, the suggestion is to generally upload multiple versions based on device resolution, DPIs. And till recently, we had to upload 3 versions, but it has now upgraded to 4 versions. SVGs don't have that issue, but then if we look at creating an entire picture with SVG, that tends to be a very CPU intensive process. So what should we do? There's another dilemma. Should we put them in native or should we bundle them with React Native and send over the air? If we put them in native, we are increasing the app size, which in turn impacts installs. So the first install that the user is going to do, that will get much bigger in size. And if we decide that let's bundle them together with React Native, then what we do is for the images that are not updated that frequently, we keep sending them with every update. A user that has installed the app now is downloading the multiple bundles with that increased app size. So what should we do? Let's look at how images and SVGs are used in the app, and that will help us derive a lot of best practices. Let's see that. So images are quite simple. If we will go to the home component, we had used images in the icons and badges sections, right? So this is the image. And it's straightforward. We have an image tag. We can pass styles to it for height and width. Remember, these are required. If we don't pass this, then the image will not show up. So they are mandatory. And there's a resize mode. Basically, what it tells is, do we need to fill the container or contain the image inside the container? Now, source has 2 different ways of defining. One is what we see here. It just says the image name, and the sample is an image that we have on the native side. So if you recall, we added the sample.png for Android under src main res, and then these are the multiple drawable folders based on different resolutions. So we need to add images of different sizes over here, and we can use them. For iOS, what we can do is we just go to our application, and under images.exe assets, we can say right click, add an image set, and then it will ask us to upload those variations. So this is an example of using an image from the native side. If we go to the navigator, the tab bar icons are from React Native. We have images under assets, and these are all the images. And if we want to use them, then this is how we typically do in any JavaScript application. We just do a require and the relative path to the image. Next, let's look at SVG. SVGs are not natively supported by React Native. What we're going to do is we are going to use React Native SVG for it, and it's pretty straightforward. If we are using the version of React Native greater than 0.60, we just need to install this library. We don't need to do the manual linking, which we used to do with React Native link. And we'll just start consuming it as a normal JavaScript function. Now, the step for that is, let's say we get an SVG from the design team. What we need to do is convert this into a JavaScript function. And there are online tools for that. We have this particular website. It's called SVG to JSX. And you just put in the path over there, and it will convert it into a JavaScript function. But it's a straightforward process, and we'll see how to do that. We'll go to images, assets, and we'll create a new folder, and let's call it SVGs. And then we can do a new file, index.tsx. And we'll just say import React. We saw this search icon and we're going to use that. Let's copy it over. What we need to do is we need to create a simple function for this. So let's call it a search. And so we'll just return this. Now these tags need to be replaced by what we get from the package. So what we can do is svg, and we get this from React Native svg. Now we don't need these tags. We can have the width and the height, but we'll see a way to make this consistent for all the icons we use. And how we can do that is we can declare a default. So let's declare defaults, and we would declare some props for it, and we'll have some style. Let's say that default style is width is 24 and height is 24, and the color is typography dot color dot default. So default is white. That's what we're going to use. So let's define the props. So we do interface props, and we declare style. It's not mandatory. We'll do view style, and then we'll do color. We can also say this is non-mandatory since we already have some defaults, and we'll have a string for that. So next we just assign this as default props to search. And okay, so we need to do props. Okay, so now with that we have declared some defaults. So this is a pretty static SVG right now. How do we change colors for this? How do we change height and width for that? So before we do that, let's render it and see it in action. So we'll do, we need to export it first. So we'll do export default and search. That should be good. We just import svg icon from assets -svg, and we can simply do svgs dot search, and that should render it for us. Let me just reload the app. There is the icon. So next, let's look at how would we change colors, and it seems to have taken the size from this one, or maybe it's this. Let's fix that. So how we do that is we'll say style equals, and we have styles in props. So we do props dot style. And for color, we're going to use the attribute fill. FILL equals whatever the color is passed. If okay, that should do it. Let's pass some color to it. Let's do color equals typography dot color dot primary. And there it is. So now we have an icon and we can control its height, width, and color. As we saw the flexibility between the two, SVGs tend to be quite light. All we have is a simple function that gets bundled and exported over the air whenever we want to send it. Now they will be sent every time that we send a bundle, but let's say even if we have 50 SVGs that we're using across the application, it's still this one file, and how much of a size that really is. Versus images, they tend to be much larger, right? But having said that, it doesn't mean that SVGs fit every scenario. So let's look at the scenarios and the best practices where images make for a better case and where SVGs would do for a perfect fit. So we have the option of either bundling an image if we put it inside the assets directory in React Native folder. It will bundle and go over the air, or we can also put them in native. So what is the best practice? The tab bar icon or the custom icons, let's say that we want to have a very custom back button. We should try and put that in native. And how we decide that is we're not going to change the back button very frequently, right? So why not bundle it and send it over? The launch images are going to be native. The tab bar icons can also be on native. Now they are pretty small and can be sent over the air, but apps don't generally tend to change the entire navigation in one go so frequently. So they would also make for a good use case, put them in native. Then the onboarding journey, what that means is whenever our users install the app for the first time, they are generally presented with multiple marketing slides, and those are images. Now, ideally, we'd want to bundle them inside the app for multiple reasons. One is they can be a network request, but then that doesn't make for a great user experience because that's the first impression that a user is going to get of the app, right? And if you're making a native request, it can happen that the image doesn't load and the user never actually sees the image because the user wants to click next and reach the home page as soon as possible. So onboarding journey images, I would recommend that we put them on native. Then some of the landing page assets, they make for a good use case for bundling into the React Native app because they tend to stay for a certain period and change. So basically how we decide is based on the frequency of these images being used. And the less frequent, it's great to put on native, and the more frequent, it's good to bundle on the React Native side. Having said that, we should still be careful about bundling these images because they'll be sent to user every time the user uses the app and downloads the bundle. SVGs are great for icons. As we just saw, they render pretty well across device resolutions. We don't need to upload 4 versions like we need to for images. And they're also really good for micro animations, which we'll see in one of the later sections where we use Lottie. So as we can see, both have their own use cases. And these are some of the best practices that we can follow while deciding whether we should use an image or an SVG and where should we really put them, on the native side or bundle them. I hope it makes sense now that we have looked how images and SVGs are used in an app, and it still continues to be an interesting discussion. But I'm hoping at the end of this lesson, we'll have a lot more clarity. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next module.